Nerderotic.com.
Welcome back to Nerdrotic. My name is Gary Beekler, and I come to you from Nerdrotic.com. And what a crazy week it's been for Captain Marvel here on YouTube, and it will not be over anytime soon. I suspect the fear may die down by next weekend when the box office maybe drops 50 to 60%, like I predict it will. It had a great weekend, and that was to be expected. It's an MCU film, it's built up a ton of goodwill, but they might have burned a lot of it with this film. Time will tell. Well, we had that with Solo, with Star Wars after The Last Jedi. I suspect we're going to have it with Doctor Who after season 11. We had a major course correction with Star Trek Discovery in season 2. We've seen interest drop to almost zero with this show, even though it did get a season 3. There's a lot behind that. Go check out my videos. But with the similarities with Doctor Who, I will say that when Jodie Whittaker, the first female Doctor, came on the air for the first time, it was to record ratings. But then it dropped significantly as the season went on. I suspect the same thing will happen with Captain Marvel. Something making a lot of money does not make it good. It made a whopping 153 million and 455 million worldwide. Rotten Tomatoes currently has the audience score at 55%. That is up from 52. That was miraculous. Not really sure how that happened, but we also saw it change from 37% to 55%, and the critic score is at 79%, which I am surprised at. There are some critics being honest about it, but it also shows you how atrocious this film is. And mind you, that 55% is all Rotten Tomatoes can do to defend it. So I imagine it should be lower. But in watching Dave Cullen's excellent Captain Marvel video today, link will be in the description, where he shouted out me with like Young Ripa and other great YouTubers. Thanks, Dave Cullen, by the way. Great YouTuber. If you're not subscribed to Computing Forever and the Dave Cullen Show, please do so. Again, link will be in the description. Love that ginge. But he pointed out a Verge article. It's talking about the YouTube algorithm. Now, I am not a critic of YouTube. I am very grateful for this platform. I'm grateful for the opportunity that I worked very hard for to be able to pay some bills with this channel. And I'm grateful most of all, I am grateful to the subscribers and my patrons who have come here. And, when we hear insults thrown out at YouTubers, it's not us individually that have any power or any say over anything. We are not the authoritative voices, but it's the people who subscribe to our channels. They are the authority. The people are the authority, not major news sources. But The Verge doesn't think so, and they are kind of running with somebody's tweet, by the way. That's what they're referring to. That could be another example of silencing the fans, and there seems to be a lot of that going around. We recently had Briana Wu talking about legislating trolls. More on that later, but let's get to the Verge article. YouTube fought Brie Larson trolls by changing its search algorithm. How a simple news tag can change everything. If you search Brie Larson on YouTube a couple of days ago, the top search results were calls for a boycott of Captain Marvel and angry rants about Larson's involvement in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. With one small change, YouTube made all of that disappear. Well, that's not entirely true. This week, YouTube recategorized Brie Larson as a newsworthy search item. That does one very important job. It makes the search algorithm surface videos from authoritative sources on the subject. That is debatable as hell. Instead of videos from individual creators. YouTube responds with videos from Entertainment Tonight, ABC, CBS, CNN, who have all earned all of our trust, especially in the last 2 years. They have done nothing to besmirch their own reputations, and other news outlets first. The algorithmic news tool was first rolled out in 2017 over the Las Vegas mass shooting. And it says here in the article, because I don't really want to get into it, it prioritized conspiracy videos over actual news from that. Now, they are referring to a tweet from Julia Alexander, who is a blue check mark. Many of the responses seen in the first image in the tweet above aren't news. but they fall under commentary or criticism in response to Larson calling for more diverse journalists at press junkets. Again, I would like to point out the perpetuation of a false narrative. Nobody is against more diversity at press junkets. I am not against that. I am not against Brie Larson being for that. I am against her singling out white men in such a disdainful way and making it okay for other people to do it as well, like Jodie Whittaker. And many of us are against Disney's exclusionary movement marketing that does alienate a large portion of the fan base, but they don't seem to care, and it seems to have worked, at least for now, but in the long run, not so sure. Trolls started using sites like Twitter and YouTube to campaign against Larson and Captain Marvel. The campaign even led Rotten Tomatoes to institute a new anti-review bombing measure to deal with the cavalcade of angry people trying to tear down Captain Marvel's page before its release. Well, I've also shown this narrative to be completely untrue. Sure, I'm sure there were some trolls, but the reviews that I read, there weren't that many, simply stated they didn't want to see the film for a reason. They weren't laced with profanity. They weren't laced with derogatory remarks. Still, they were being removed. Now, before I get into an example of this, and there is an example, with all things, this is partially true. But what's more important here is the narrative that The Verge is trying to push, the narrative that the Access media, the shill media, has been pushing for the last 2 weeks in defense of Disney, the corporation, the establishment. What they are trying to do is protect their jobs and defend this film by calling everybody, and I mean everybody, who criticizes this film a troll. So if they lump you into the troll category, therefore, your opinion is not valid anymore. Got Brie Larson, and this is what pops up. BuzzFeed, because BuzzFeed is an authoritative source, or Jimmy Kimmel Live, owned by Disney. But we got America Undercover, Today, People TV, Variety, Wired. Again, I'm going to question these as authoritative news sources, but they are certainly big. Entertainment Weekly, ABC, Variety. Yeah, it looks like she's got a point there. The Fourth Age. But then we have Nerdette's Newsstand. I mean, yeah, she's 10th or 12th, and she's cool. I've seen her on Bounding in the Comics and stuff. So Nerdette's Newsstand. We have Film Gob. We have Sci-Fi Wire, who admitted to being Access journalists. Please see link in the description of me breaking that story. And if you know what's good for you, do not click on the Brie Larson She Said radio edit. Ooh, that cannot be unseen. Now, if you search Captain Marvel, you get kind of the same result, and what they do is they stack all the authoritative news sources up top, but for me, they have that drop down there, and if you search down here, you'll see more independent voices. There are many out there who would love this to be true, though. We go to Briana Wu, and what our good friends at Bounding into Comics are reporting, Briana Wu calls for government legislation in response to negative Captain Marvel quote-unquote reviews. Now, Briana is really talking about legislating a harassment towards women and trying to call criticism of a film actual harassment towards women online. Two completely different things, by the way, but you see how the media is trying to lump us all into one giant category so they could attempt to maybe pass legislation, which would be impossible. This is why it's an absolutely ridiculous argument. I will read what she says, and then I'll get back to the real reason she's even bringing this up. On March 6th, Wu appeared as a guest on Bloomberg Technology, wherein she discussed her upcoming campaign with Bloomberg Technology host Emily Chang. During their conversation, Chang asked Wu about her feelings regarding the narrative that the upcoming film Captain Marvel and lead actress Brie Larson were being harassed due to the emphasis on a strong female superhero. It's kind of a familiar story at this point, right? It certainly is. We were here with Ghostbusters 2016, which sucked. It seems like any time a woman steps forward and tries to put her toe in the waters for a male-dominated field, we're right back here. They then go on to talk about Facebook's move to privatizing people's accounts to keep women from being harassed online. Nobody wants anybody to harass anybody online, but criticizing Captain Marvel as a bad film is not harassment. It is not hate speech. Criticizing Star Trek Discovery is not hate speech. Criticizing Doctor Who is not hate speech. But you see where they're going with this. You see this narrative that they're pushing. Again, everybody's a troll, your opinion is not valid, and the wheels on the bus go round and round. And why is Briana Wu bringing this up? Not that she really thinks she could legislate this stuff, although maybe she'll try. It's ridiculous. We still have a little thing called the Constitution. For how long? I don't know if she gets elected, but the reason she's bringing it up is to insert herself into this argument because she's not relevant anymore because of the Gamergate stuff, which I know very little about, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if more voices from Gamergate try to insert themselves into this argument in the coming months. So let's go back to The Verge because they do try to show the other side of this argument, which I commend them for. A YouTube spokesperson, of course, declined to comment on when a certain topic like Brie Larson versus Captain Marvel is designated as news. But The Verge confirmed this is part of YouTube's ongoing campaign to ensure that when people use YouTube as a way of looking for news on a topic, the company relies on authoritative sources first and foremost. Okay, where is this confirmation? Cite your confirmation somewhere. The noticeable shift in responses speaks to an even bigger conversation about YouTube's search algorithm. If this is a way to prioritize higher quality videos when people are searching for a topic, could this be used for non-news topics too? Yeah, that's a good question. Some creators see it as a problem if YouTube favors videos over approved news outlets instead of individuals. On Twitter, some critics and creators called it censorship, which it is, from YouTube, while others commend the site for taking some kind of action. Well, they commend it now, but what if YouTube took action against something you agree with? I'm certain you would have the same problem. You know, neutrality is really a good thing, and it's also something that's quite dead. YouTube has millions of creators on the platform who are fighting to get their videos seen. If traditional news outlets are shown favoritism, which it looks like they kind of are right here, it's a cultural shift that will see immense backlash from a large portion of the creator community. You absolutely got that right. And there is a cultural shift going on, but these things do not happen overnight. Again, this is the MCU's first real mistake, one they have enough goodwill built up to overcome. But if they continue going down this road, the road of putting agenda ahead of storytelling, it will fail. Marvel Comics is failing. In turn, comic shops are closing left and right because of this. It took a couple of years. Comic retailers finally spoke up, but it was way too late. There were YouTubers talking about this 2 years ago. This is what's in store for the MCU if they keep on going down this road. And they have the growing competition of DC now. And if they start filling their fun escapism with a bunch of personal politics and agenda, this is going to wear on the general public. We have the access media trying to protect this and their access. It is a fight for survival. That's why they are trying to silence us. That's why they are pointing out YouTubers and the algorithm, because some of us are growing at crazy rates and they notice this. So, yes, Captain Marvel did very well this weekend, but did you notice a lot of YouTubers did very well over the last 3 weeks? And that is because of you out there, my fellow fans, who have come to one of the only places you could still come and voice your opinion, your criticism of a film without being called names. Now, when they're trying to silence YouTubers, they're trying to silence you. To the general public, to the normies out there, it might not seem a big deal that a big corporation wants to silence a bunch of guys and gals in their rooms surrounded by action figures criticizing a film by going as far as to call it hate speech. But this is the testing ground. Where does it end? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Everybody, I hope you have a great weekend. It'll be very interesting to see what Captain Marvel does next weekend. Did Captain Marvel completely damage the brand, or is it just a misstep? What it did do was expose the access media even more, which really is now not a surprise to anyone. Like, share, and subscribe. May the small folks sing songs of your greatness.
Nerderotic.com. Please subscribe.